Rainbow Six Siege is in a bit of a transition period at the moment, which is a weird thing to say because the game is doing really well. I hadn't played for a while until this morning when recording this footage, but recently the latest Invitational took place and the viewer numbers and vibe were fantastic. And overall I think it was just a brilliant event and it piqued my interest in the game again. It just goes to show you how far the game has come since its initial release. Now, in a recent diary, the developers have outlined not only the upcoming content over the next few months, but in fact what they have planned over the next 8 seasons or 2 years. The developers look like they really know what they want to do with this game, and they're going to do it. It's impressive that we can get this much detail as players 2 years in advance. Interestingly, Lero Athanasov, who is the game director on Rainbow Six Siege, said that the team has a goal of reaching their original vision of the game, which suggests that despite how successful the game has already been on console and PC, they don't feel it's quite where it needs to be in terms of how they originally pitched or envisioned it. They have said that they want to explore new areas of gameplay and rework parts of the game they've previously not had the opportunity to since the game launched. With that in mind, they walked us through exactly what they have planned over the next coming 2 years. So year 5 will be a hybrid year, which is a mix of what the game has today and what the game will have in the future with year 6. The first half of year 5 will be season 1 and 2, which will feature 2 new operators apiece and a rework of 2 maps already in the game. Season 1 will see the rework of Oregon, and season 2 will rework House, the classic map. In the recent Invitational, the developers showcased not only the remake of Oregon, but also the 2 new operators. So let's touch on this real quick. The new operation is called Void Edge, and I think by the time this video releases, it should be playable in the test server. Now the 2 operators here are Jana and Oryx. Oryx is a defender, Jana is an attacker. Oryx is quite interesting because one of his abilities allows him to break through a soft wall. It's called the Rima Dash, and not only will it allow him to cover short distances quickly and knock down any opponents that he contacts with in the process, he can also use it to break through walls. And as if this wasn't enough, Oryx can also climb up broken hatches, allowing him to get to areas with a lot more ease than other characters. Climbing up hatches is something that I thought would be cool in the game ever since it launched, and I thought that it might come in a gadget like a rappel that everyone could use, but for now it's just reserved to this one new character. Jana, on the other hand, has something called the Gemini Replicator, and this is a remotely controlled hologram copy of Jana. If it seems a bit crazy, that's because it is. It can move and produce sound like she can, but it can't shoot, melee or use any secondary gadgets. It's got a time limit and it can be exited at any time. As well as the new operators, I did mention map reworks, and Oregon is the first one up. For this map, it's mostly an updated look with some areas having new points of access. The big tower, for instance, now connects directly onto the kitchen on the first floor, and there's a new area in the basement called Freezer. We also got to see some snippets of House on the live stream, and that's had more than just a lick of paint. The house now is a lot larger, and so players are definitely going to have more time and the ability to flank, but you'll also have to learn all the new routes and angles in this one. It looks pretty nice too. And then for season 3 and 4, things will start to get closer to how they want the game to shape up in the future. They will keep map reworks, in-game events and the battle pass. In fact, season 3 will have a rework of Skyscraper, and season 4 will focus on a rework of Chalet. Where these seasons will differ though is in the content delivery, especially when it comes to new operators. Season 3 and 4 will only have 1 operator apiece rather than the standard 2, but alongside this, and to counterbalance it let's say, there will be additional core gameplay content and gameplay reworks. They also seem keen to offer more narrative behind the operators with cinematic backstory videos. To be fair, I think Siege has done a pretty good job of the backstories for their operators since day one and growing an audience and fan base for them, so I don't think there's any harm on adding to this. So for year 6, the battle pass and new operators will kick off each of the 4 seasons, and alongside that there will also be a new map in each season, something which players have come to expect of the earlier seasons. The developers also hope that by this time they will have established their core gameplay centric philosophy, and each season they will try to build on that with core gameplay updates, and this includes game features and operator reworks. That will happen throughout the season though, rather than right at the beginning. I think one problem maybe that Siege faces now though, and the developers I think are very aware of this, is that the game is massively different from when it released 4 years ago. Some people love the direction it's gone, some people not so much, but there are over 50 operators currently in the game, each with different abilities that have to be balanced against each other. Amazingly, they are still targeting 100 operators, which perhaps seemed quite far-fetched for an FPS game 4 years ago, but they're already halfway there. When the game launched, there were only 20 operators, and with each one they add, the overall impact of them I think is reduced. With this in mind, the devs say that they want to improve certain elements of the overall experience, and they've listed a few ways that they plan on doing this. One of them is with better communication tools. For instance, they gave an example of a drone spotting gadgets in the preparation phase and then sharing that information with teammates' user interfaces even before the attack takes place. So maybe you could spot a frost mat or a capcan trap, something like that. Alongside this, there will be more generic gadgets that all operators, or at least most of the operators, will be able to equip. And they're working on prototypes for a few of those right now. Speaking of operators, as I mentioned, some are going to be getting reworks or even complete overhauls, and Lord Tachanka is getting that treatment in Year 5, finally. So when an operator is tweaked, that means relatively small changes that will affect gameplay, I think, but still hopefully leave that operator feeling similar to how you remember them, just a bit fresh. Reworks, on the other hand, will completely change how an operator functions, and Tachanka I think is one of those, and he's going to function very different from what he's like now. First of all, what about his turret machine gun? Well, that will no longer be a turret weapon. It's now available for you to carry around as a primary, which I'm sure will please a lot of people. The bonus of this is that it can be used to easily destroy soft walls because of how powerful it is. So if you wanted to quickly make a hole for your team to go through, you could do that. As well as that change, he also gets a brand new incendiary grenade launcher, which causes a big area of denial effect. You can bounce grenades off walls and then the fire will ignite whatever it touches. Looks like a cool weapon. And there have also been some tweaks to Legion and Twitch. From Year 5 though, every season will have a major event, and from what they showed off in the trailer, they all looked unique. They all looked incredibly different and completely outside of the normal game loop too, which is a good thing. And then alongside that, we will also be getting the arcade playlists, and these offer the same gameplay but with modifiers. The first half of Year 5 there will be one arcade playlist per season, but by the second half of Year 5 they would like to release several of them per season. The first arcade playlist that they're aiming to release during Season 1 is called Golden Gun. Everyone will be equipped with one pistol with one bullet in the mag, so after every time you shoot, you have to reload. These game modes are not meant to replace the core game, it's just a limited time mode for a bit of fun. Plenty of other live service games are doing this kind of thing now too. So back in Year 4 of the game, the pick and ban system was introduced for operators. If you're not familiar with it, then at the beginning of a ranked game, both teams can vote for an operator that they want to ban the other team from using. It's akin to a system that tournaments have used in various forms across many games. In Year 5 though, the devs say that they want to enhance this system to also include a map ban, which will give players even more control over what they end up playing. And there's going to be a new reputation system added to the game. Every player will get a reputation rating, and depending on that level, you will either trigger rewards or sanctions. So you can either have a positive, neutral or negative standing. Positive standing, which is level 3 and 4, will result in rewards. Level 2 is neutral, while level 0 and 1 means negative standing, and this will result in tailored sanctions. So I like the fact that they're rewarding a positive vibe in the community and trying to make the game less toxic. Wrapping up today guys, as well as all of that, they're working on a new replay system that looked awesome. The developers are also talking about new game modes, other gameplay tweaks and general game balancing. I think from what we've heard though over the last few days is the main takeaway is that in the upcoming seasons, we'll be getting regular events, new operators, big changes and small changes to current operators, more maps, and also a lot of impactful gameplay changes that mean Rainbow Six is definitely in for a roller coaster of the next couple of years. It'll be fun to follow along and see how this goes. Will the changes be welcomed by the community or pushed back? I suppose it depends on exactly what they are, but only time will tell. And that's all for today, folks. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you still playing Rainbow Six Siege, or have you given up on it? Does it still wet your whistle? If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.